They are defaming people and intimidating people and making those people a object lesson for others who might want to disagree with their narrative.
Yeah, and when you talk about suppression of speech now, we see that widely on college campuses.
Yeah, that's right. We're just going to shut you down. And that is partisan tolerance. And that's where it came from. It came from Herbert Marcuse. He thought it up, and then Saul Alinsky systematized it with his rules for radicals.
So what about peripheral groups?
Okay, but let's talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center, for example.
Okay.
Julian Bond, the Southern Poverty Law Center lifetime board member, was a communist. He was very good friends with Herbert Marcuse. They worked together on many things. So where did the SPLC get its hate tactic? Well, the SPLC just began applying partisan tolerance, that's all. They began applying Lenin's dictum to sow hate and revulsion towards people who disagree with them. So that's what the SPLC is about. As you know, I'm sure, Roger Baldwin, the founder of the ACLU, said that they weren't naive about it, that communism has always been the cause of that organization.
So what about, let's say, the support organizations, you know, XYZ coffee shop, this or that, all the different organizations that support? By the way, heaven forbid if you try to object to that and you work for one of those organizations.
Yeah, right.
Are they just duped into going along with this because they buy the rhetoric?
Well, they buy the rhetoric, and I think a lot of it can be ascribed to the very common and very dangerous failing we all have, which is human pride. They get a narrative poured into their empty heads when they're in college, and that narrative inflates their egos to be in favor of liberating the masses, to be in favor of equality and social justice, and all these buzzwords that sound good but don't really require a lot of investment of intellectual effort to get behind. They become wedded to those ideas. And there's all kinds of subconscious and conscious benefits to that. You are accepted by what is becoming mainstream society. You are lionized, or at least accepted by the press, and you are certainly not demonized. All of it serves to reaffirm and reinforce the things that you learned in college or early on in your life that make you think that you're somehow special for supporting these radical ideas.
So how did you wind up on the SPLC's hate list or whatever they put you on?
Well, I'm not sure that I'm on their hate list. They've written about me. I had the audacity to accept the job with the commissioners of Carroll County, Maryland, while being conservative. So in other words, they hired a conservative person to help them with their public relations, and that was my grave sin. I was working while being conservative, so they attacked me for that. And in fact, they were latecomers. The local newspaper attacked me daily. The leftists in the community attacked me, wrote letters to the editors, and ultimately the commissioners didn't renew my contract because they didn't like the heat. And so all of the work that I've been doing on refugee resettlement and the articles that I've written for Accuracy in Media and others have, of course, raised their ire. I've written an extensive research report on the Southern Poverty Law Center for the Capital Research Center. I suggest all of your listeners go and look that up. That was written, I believe, in 2012 or 2013. There's an update of that article that I published at Breitbart earlier this year, and both of them tell the story of the Southern Poverty Law Center, but the one at Capital Research Center goes into much greater depth. It talks about Herbert Marcuse and their connection to the partisan tolerance narrative and, their funding and everything else. It goes extensively into detail about who they are and what they are. It's a thoroughly discredited organization. Even the left doesn't like them.
Yeah, but the newspapers will quote from them. Have you ever noticed that?
All the time, because they're very convenient. Yes, absolutely.
One of the tricks that Saul Alinsky always said is nobody can survive ridicule. What has occurred to me over the course of watching how this dialectical game has been played over the last 20 years is if you agree to take them seriously, then you have agreed to play by their rules and you agree to lose. Whereas if you simply say, oh, yeah, you got to do better than that. You're a racist. Yeah, maybe so, but you got to do better than that.
Yeah.
Let's do a couple of things here. So your articles appear at aim.org. That's where I found your one on the roots of Black Lives Matter. The one on Southern Poverty Law Center is located where?
At capitalresearch.org.
this is old hat for me, and I can't figure out why generation after generation just falls for it.
Yeah, it's really believe it's an issue of personal pride. Once they become invested in the ideology, it becomes harder and harder to look at the facts, because to do so challenges everything that they've believed for years, and also forces them to realize just how utterly ignorant and stupid they've been to buy into it, because it really is very simplistic and it's very flawed and doesn't have a real-world success story to offer.
Okay, Jim Simpson, your articles can be found, of course, at aim.org, Accuracy in Media, and I appreciate your taking time. I want to hustle here. You're listening to Steel on Steel at steelonsteel.com online, if that's where you're listening. You notice now some of the candidates for president, despite the fact that we have burgeoning, incredible levels of debt in the country, are promising, say, free college, or we're going to restore quality education,